I'm going to ask Ruby, my assistant, to come and join me and to bring me a rattle, if you would, Ruby. Shamans work in sacred space. For us in the West, sacred space are places. They're cathedrals, they're churches. But for the shaman, a sacred space is anywhere that you bring your prayers and your intent to bear. So you can create a sacred space with your intention, with your prayer, by lining up with the four corners of the world and heaven and earth. So I'd like for you to join me in a prayer as we call on the four directions and we open sacred space together. So let's see, we're in San Francisco, which way is LA? That way, right? Okay. LA is this way, okay, very good. So that's south. So join me if you would in a prayer.
That's the ocean's right there.
And this is Ruby. Ruby's my assistant, and she'll be around to answer any questions you have after the talk. To the winds to the south, great serpent, mother of the waters, we call on you, Mother. Wrap your coils of light around us. Teach us your ways, the beauty way, to walk with beauty on the earth, to touch everyone we touch with beauty. Be with us. Hold. To the winds of the west, Mother, Sister, Jaguar, come to us, Mother. Come and teach us your ways, the ways of fearlessness, of integrity, of impeccability, the ways beyond death. Be with us. Hold. To the winds of the north, grandmothers, grandfathers, ancient ones, guardians and keepers of this land. We come to honor you today. You have come before us, and you who will come after us, our children's children. In your name we gather. Hummingbird, teach us your lessons of drinking deeply from the nectar of life. Ho! To the winds of the east, the place of the rising sun, eagle, condor, come to us, Mother, fly high above us. Teach us the ways of the nest and the ways of the clouds. Teach us the ways of vision. Be with us. Oh. Pachamama, Santa Tierra, Mother Earth, Great Mother, thank you, Mother, for all of your blessings, for your breath, your waters, and to all our relations, the stone people, the plant people, the creepy crawlies, the winged, the furred, the finned. Oh. Intitaita, Father Son, Grandmother Moon, to all the star nations, our star brothers and sisters, to all the sacred mountains of this land, and Idia Tixi Wigakocha, Great Spirit, Wakan Kanka, you who are known by 1,000 names, and you who are the unnameable one, thank you for bringing us together today. Oh. One time we were in Machu Picchu, and we're doing ceremony, and one of the old medicine women gets up, and she turns to the north, and she goes to the winds of the south. And then she turns to the east, and she goes to the winds of the west. And I'm about to get up and take her my compass, and this old man grabs my arm, and he says, for the next week, that's south. So I hope that what we do today is going to be an hour-long ceremony in which we're going to be looking at the notions of time and the Inca prophecies of the end of time and having an experience with them. Because for the shaman, and particularly when I speak about the shaman, I'm talking about the laika. The laika were the old wisdom keepers. They were not the healers, they were not the midwives, they were not the bone setters. They were the wisdom keepers. They were the holders of the knowledge. And they're very rare to find among us. Many, many healers, few of the wisdom keepers. In fact, you don't want to go to one of the wisdom keepers if you need healing. Because he'll ask you, why did this happen to you? What's the lesson here? And you go, but I'm bleeding. In fact, if a snake bites you, you don't want to go to a shaman at all. You want to go to the ER. Because Western medicine is the finest medicine we have for trauma. And then you want to go to your shaman to find out why the snake bit you in the first place. Why you were out of alignment. So the Incas speak about the end of time. The end of time that we're approaching. We're approaching time zero, time's end. Not the end of humanity as we know it, but the end of time itself. A brand new relationship with time. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the end of time. So in our mythology of origin in the West, and we have a very funky mythology in the West. Because, for example, we're the only people in the world to have been kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Nobody else was kicked out of the garden. The Aborigines weren't, the Sub-Saharan Africans weren't, the Buddhists weren't, Native Americans weren't. We're the only ones who were kicked out of the garden. They were given the gardens to be the stewards, the caretakers of the garden. But we were being cast out. And as we're being kicked out, there's a voice that comes and says, for cursed is the earth because of you, and you too, woman. And to the man, the voice says, and the earth shall grow thorns and thistles for you. With the sweat of your back you will take your food from the earth, and she shall grow thorns and thistles for you. So in page 2 of our mythology, we really managed to piss off the feminine. Big time. Because we learned that the earth is cursed because of woman, and that our mother, Mother Earth, is not going to grow mangoes and papayas and strawberries for us, but thorns and thistles. I'm not making this up. Check this out next time you stay in a motel. It's page 2 of our mythology. Predisposes us to a relationship with the feminine that is antagonistic. And then in the year 1564, the elders of the church gather in Rome to determine whether animals, women, and Indians, or people of color, have souls. So the first day was determined that animals and Indians did not have souls, which is why so many indigenous peoples were worked in the mines and in the field like animals. They had no souls. And it took 23 days of deliberation to find out that women indeed had souls. Close call. So we have a mythology that predisposes us, that biases us against the feminine, towards the masculine. And we have created societies and medical systems and economic systems that are founded on a masculine paradigm, which we're seeing and observing and witnessing as it collapses around us, as we come to the end of a worldview. And we switch the command and control paradigms for sustainability paradigms. The extractive economies where we have to extract from the earth, where we look at the forest as lumber feet or natural resources. Natural resources means that nature made these for us as resources to use. In contrast with that relationship of stewardship that the indigenous people have with nature. So what we're witnessing is the collapse of an entire mythology that the prophecies speak about, and that were so beautifully documented by Sharon Rose in the movie 2013. You've all seen that. So in the Western mythologies, creation happens as a result of the division of space. And the reason that I'm telling you all of this is that for us to be able to really experience the shamanic practice, we have to understand our mythology and the mythology of the indigenous peoples. Otherwise, we simply have another experience. Because mythology is invisible to us. Joseph Campbell used to say that reality are those myths that we haven't quite seen through yet. What we call reality are those myths that we haven't quite seen through yet. So the mythologies of the West have to do with the division of space. In the first day, God separated the heavens above from below, the waters above from the waters below. The second day, the waters from the dry land. It's the division of space. If you look at the first 5 books of the Bible, they establish the basis of Western law to property ownership, to the division of space and the ability, what you do, what rights you have as a landowner. And if you look at the problems in the Middle East, they're problems about who owns this piece of land, right? So our mythology is founded on the division of space. Indigenous mythologies are founded on the division of time. On the division of time. So it's a very different mythological structure. And if we're to understand a little bit about the Inca prophecies of the end of time, we have to understand this notion of creation happening as a result of the division of time. And the Inca, by the way, were a very short-lived nation. They lasted for 250 years. But the prophecies and the wisdom teachings are much older than the Inca. They go back 100,000 years. And they were kept by the Laika, which are the wisdom keepers. And when the Spanish arrived, they persecuted the Laika. They loved the shamans, they loved the healers, they loved the midwives, because European medicine was a disaster at that time. But they persecuted the wisdom keepers, because they were the ones who upheld the tradition of the feminine. So the story of creation of indigenous peoples is about the division of time, which is why you find so many calendars throughout the Americas. We've heard talks in the last few days about the Mayan calendar, and the different great cycles in the Mayan calendar. You know, our calendars in the West are all religious calendars. What's the year today? I forget, I'm in California. New York, everybody. We're in the year 2000. We're in the year 2008, after the death of Christ. Right? So it's a religious calendar we have in the West. Indigenous societies have, in the Jewish calendar, what year is it? 57 and change. 5,700 and change since creation. So all of our calendars are religious. The indigenous calendars are astronomical calendars. Careful observers of the heavens, because the mythology of creation of the indigenous peoples is about the division of time.